Story 1. Something has always been weird here. We bought 20 acres of land in the middle of nowhere, East Texas. We're down like 18 dirt roads, and when it rains too long, we have to use a boat to get around. Our properties back up to a huge nature reservation, and to the west is a Native American reservation. We couldn't find any history on the property when we were looking at buying it, other than the previous owner was in prison, but we didn't know why. We needed a large, cheap plot of land to homestead though, and this place met every one of our needs, including a beautiful spring-fed creek running through it, and since it's pretty much surrounded by reservations, that means there's a lot of wildlife. We don't hunt, but we do love living around them. My husband is a veteran who saw war 3 times, and being in nature is the most healing form of therapy for him. That and actual therapy, of course. The listing said there was an old house, a camp house and a deer stand, but the realtor couldn't tell us where they were because the land was so overgrown. We found the old house pretty quick, but we hiked for 2 days and didn't find either the camp house or the deer stand. Then we started tearing down the house because it was falling down anyways, and wasn't more than just a shack to begin with. When we got to the bathtub, my husband was busting it up with a hammer to remove it in pieces, and on one of the swings, something stuck to his hammer, so he stops and we both investigate. It was a pair of little girls' underwear with Dora the Explorer on them, and a large pad inside them with a brown stain. We found multiple pairs hidden under the tub. So we called and reported it, thinking it was evidence of something potentially foul considering the owner was in prison, but authorities never came out. We took pictures of them, but then burned them from lack of knowing what to do at the time. The next night, I started getting the strangest feeling of dread, or like someone was nearby. It's hard to explain, but do you remember when you were little and you were running home in the dark from playing and you get that feeling something was chasing you, but it wasn't? From the day we found those underwear, I would randomly get that feeling, but only and always at night. A few weeks later, we decided to sell some trees from 1 acre so we could get a well and solar. The guys came out and cleared an acre which revealed the camp house that we searched for in a grid pattern and could not find. This house was right behind the house we tore down and we couldn't find it. When my husband opened the door to it, we were shocked to see a cute little loft and a bunch of plastic totes full of letters from the previous owner to his wife. I won't get into too many details, but we knew he was in prison for multiple kinds of familial abuse. Authorities didn't want the letters either, but we never threw them away or burnt them. We just left them there. So, a year goes by, and other than minimal little events of strange things happening or scary feelings at night things, we're pretty chill. Then, one summer night, my daughter asks me why I went up to the camp house and if I knew I had left a candle going. None of us ever go up to that camp house. On a couple of occasions just to show family members that were curious, but that was it. I definitely wasn't in there that day, and neither was my husband. I got full body chills when she asked, and I jumped up, ran outside and looked at the camp house. And sure as shit, there was a candle flickering in the window. I am only afraid of one thing in this life, and that is losing my kids or my husband, but I became so scared it was like a visceral reaction. I ran inside, woke up my husband telling him someone was in the camp house. He grabbed a weapon, all of our big dogs, locked the door on his way out, and said to be ready to call the police if he yelled. About 30 minutes later, he comes back. He said the dogs didn't alert to anything, and they are well trained to do so. He never saw anyone leave, and there's only one exit. No tracks, Nothing but an old oil-burning candle lit. He said his hair stood all the way up the closer he got though, and our dogs that normally would have ran ahead of him lingered behind him. We still haven't figured out what happened that day, but we talk about it all the time. Now, fast forward through the next few years, same thing, just minor weird events and random nights where I'd be standing in the kitchen and suddenly have fear wash over me. We experienced so much loss during those years, it was like we had non-stop whiplash. We lost almost all of the core family members, and the years are pretty blurry because of that. Last year though, we finally lifted our heads back up and started living again. We bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2015 mobile home and had placed it near where the old house used to stand. The feelings of fear at nighttime started immediately. It also ran into the mornings now. I started hearing things that sounded like one of my cats jumping down from their tower behind me, but they weren't there when I turned around. My daughter, who has a rare incurable heart disease, also began having these weird episodes where she was so scared she would get a couple of our dogs to sleep with her, but she's 18 and has never had issues like that. In the last few weeks, things have picked up big time. My mother-in-law lives in an RV in front of our house because I'm her caretaker, and she got very sick a couple of weeks ago with AFib. AFib, or atrial fibrillation, is the most common type of arrhythmia, or irregular, often rapid heart rhythm where the heart's upper chambers beat chaotically rather than contracting effectively. She was in the ICU for almost 8 days, and during that time, I brought these like floating candles, the kind of ones that you see in the Harry Potter films, and I thought they were defective because one of them would randomly come on. I investigated thinking maybe the connection was loose, but no, it wasn't the same candle either. It was different ones every time, but only one at a time. I brought a different brand of them, a more expensive brand. They were much better quality, and one at a time, again, they will randomly come on. By this point, I can barely stand in my kitchen alone at night. I'm jumping constantly because I think I can hear a cat jumping down, but there is never a cat there. And I'm racing to bed to hide under the covers like a child. A few nights ago, I was in bed listening to an audiobook and doing a puzzle on my phone to wind down, when out of nowhere, I feel uneasy, so I look over at my husband and I feel instantly nauseous. He's asleep with his hand held straight in the air like he's grabbing for something, and there's one single candle on right above his hand. I grabbed a picture, and the second I hit that button, his hand fell back down to his side and the candle slowly dimmed out. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I need to figure it out. Someone I know suggested sage in the house, but I had saged it when we brought it. My daughter mentioned that I had been buying a lot of stuff from this thrift store in town that was owned by an old woman, that hoard stuff and estate sale rejects always go to her. But these events have been happening long before me buying antiques. I don't know if it matters, but my husband has PTSD and is a very sensitive person to energies. He strongly believes he's seen men at work in the old part of the mill that died on the job. His mill dates back to like 1910 or something, and people used to die pretty regularly. He's also what I call a death doler. I mean, I didn't make that name up, but apparently I started calling him that before learning it was a real thing. Death seems to follow him around, but not in a menacing way. It just seeks his comfort. He has sat beside and watched over 20 people pass. Sometimes he'll have just met them right before they make that journey to the next realm. He is such a calming person to them in their final hours. I don't know what, if any of this information may help with telling me what I should do next, but I'm so hopeful that someone can give me ideas because I do not like living like this. That picture I took of his hand is very grainy and I took it at 3 a.m. and I'm still trying to make sense of it all. Literally any advice or support is super appreciated. Story 2. Poltergeist Caused by Hormonal Twin Teenage Sisters. Backstory: 2019. I was 25 and struggling financially. I asked my mum if I could take one of her rooms in order to pay less rent. I moved in, then soon after I asked my girlfriend to move in with me to help pay rent. It was a 4-bedroom house with a studio attached in the back with a small family. On one half of our house was my mum in the master bedroom with one of my twin sisters, Carla, who was 13. In the other room was a man who was renting a room. On the other half of the home was my sister, Janet, who was 19, with her baby daughter, and my other twin sister, Angela, who was 13. Then finally myself and my girlfriend, Kylie. All fake names, by the way. Myself and my girlfriend, aside from some wine or mixed drinks on rare occasions, are completely sober. We are the type to just stay home and watch movies. My Catholic family was fairly poor growing up. We are just regular, hard-working people. Most importantly, we are rational. We don't deal with BS. No previous strange occurrences in any of our lives. My girlfriend is also Christian. So here's the story. One night at around 8 p.m, myself and my girlfriend were in bed and we were alarmed to hear the most heavy footsteps you could imagine on the roof. It sounded like a big man with big boots and it was very clearly going from corner to corner above our room. I got up and went to investigate. Everything was normal in our house. I went outside expecting to see someone on our roof, probably the back neighbours or something, but nothing. We asked the people in the back, no clue. Me, my girlfriend and our cat were the only ones that heard it. I thought maybe it was someone running away from someone or something, but our roof had that very steep triangle shape. A few days after, myself and my girlfriend were on our bed and we heard running above us. This time, it was quick, light running, like a child. This time though was more odd. We went to ask my sisters again, but nothing. Odd? Every so often we'd hear these steps above us. I started believing we had a person living in our attic. Every time I heard the steps, I'd pop my head in the attic and shine my phone. Nothing. Eventually, I climbed all the way up to search, and again, nothing. Nobody else heard them except me and my girlfriend. It started getting very frustrating. I have anxiety and I've always had trouble sleeping. When I'd hear the steps at night, it'd be very uncomfortable, and when it would wake me up, I'd have trouble falling back asleep. I started getting very angry of the situation. I was a competitive boxer at the time, and sleep was urgent. Myself and my girlfriend came to the conclusion that this was probably an animal or a ghost. One day, I was alone in the house and I heard the steps. At this point, I was pissed. I said, "Perfect," rushed my way up into the attic. I crawled around saying, "Here I am, I'm all by myself. What are you about? What do you want? Show yourself. Do something." Nothing. One night, footsteps again, around 2 a.m. I'm awake now and my stress is high. I started doing research on my phone. Animal sounds on roof / walls, etc. Not sounding familiar. No help. Ghost making footstep noises equals poltergeist, or noisy spirit in German. I researched the history. They are not ghosts, but energies created by us humans. In the past, they believed poltergeists were caused by teenage girls because of their strong emotions. Bingo! I had chills writing this. My home at the time was a war zone of emotions, anger, sadness, cursing, yelling, and fights. Most of the issues was due to my twin sisters. Angela, especially at that time, was rebelling severely. She started hanging out with some bad kids and drinking, drugging, etc. My mum was strict, so they would fight bad. Once they got into a small fist fight and police were actually called. Of course, I'd get involved as well. Angela had very strong emotions. I was battling depression at this time due to being broke. Myself and my mum are bipolar. My sister Carla was clinically diagnosed as bipolar. While researching, I learned that we could get rid of negative energy by bringing positive energy. Praying, saging your home, etc. Eventually, I was up. My girlfriend woke up as well. I told her that I heard the footsteps again and couldn't go back to sleep and about all the research I found. She started doing some research of her own. At this point, it was around 15 minutes before 3 AM, and my girlfriend says out loud, "I'm just waiting for it to be 3 AM because that's when spirits are the most active." I took this as a joke and ignored it. Sure enough, at 3 AM on the dot, chills again, we heard the most aggressive, chaotic and sporadic thumping yet. This time it was happening with no pattern, and it was all over our roof. My girlfriend grabbed my shoulder, terrified. I was paralysed for about 3 seconds. I could not believe it. After coming to, I picked up my phone and started recording. Too late. It lasted maybe 4 seconds. All I got on video was my cat freaking out. The video was saved and recorded at 3:01 AM officially. This, however, was the turning point. The next day, I went to each one of my family members one by one, told them about what happened and all about the poltergeists. I also told them about what we had to do to remove this. I told them that we have to chill out, no more fighting, to work on our anger, and let's pray at night together. Thankfully, they all took it seriously. We dialed it down severely. We saged the house. We'd pray and read Bible passages at night sometimes together. I proclaimed to our home that there was no room for negative energy, only positive energy. We really did a 180, and it worked. After some time, very suddenly, it just stopped. Not a peep. We never spoke about it as a family again. I've been known to be one of the more responsible ones of my siblings. Aside from that time being very hard for me emotionally and financially, I have and am doing very well for myself, thankfully. Honestly, I am the only one of my siblings that would have been able to handle this situation and turn it around like I helped to do. So I'd like to believe that's the reason why my room was the only ones that heard it. Maybe this occurrence happened in order for my family to be more at peace. Myself and Kylie are now married with a daughter. We moved into our current home on December the 15th, 2023. When we settled in, we held hands and I proclaimed loudly to make sure I was heard that in this house, there is no room for negative energy, only positive. My wife did her saging thing too and put oil on doorways and prayed. And thankfully, we've had nothing since. Story 3. The Ghost in Our Face. Okay, so let's start with the day before this happened. So I was on call with my girlfriend and we thought it would be a good idea to go to our friend's house. Sarah and Cameron, both fake names, as they have just moved in and we wanted to crash there. She had been pregnant for about a month or 2 at this time, hence why she got the house. She then tells us she has been getting some weird activity around her house. Like, sometimes it sounded like someone was walking around her house when it was just her. So, we thought it would be a good idea to do a little investigation in it and sleep the night. So, we agreed to be there the next day. The day comes. I just had my last ever youth football, or if you're American, soccer, game. We lost 2-1. I was speaking to a lad on my team after the game. He had only joined a few months prior. He knew a lad on the other team who was the goalkeeper, and he should have told me where I should go for the penalty since he knew him well, but he didn't. I wasn't angry, I was just taking the mick of how he should have told me. Now remember this, because this is important later on in the story. I arrived at my girlfriend's house about mid-afternoon. Let's just call her Lily for privacy. Sarah was at a concert in the middle of the city, and Cameron would be the one to pick her up, so we were waiting till her concert was nearly over to take the subway to the city centre. We were excited because this is the first time we would do a somewhat investigation without a guide. When it came to the time, we left to take the subway to the city centre. We eventually got there and originally got told to meet at a hospital parking lot. After about 20 minutes, Cameron called us to say meet him halfway so we can go to where he parked his car. We met up with him halfway down the street before meeting up with Sarah. Before we met with Sarah, Cameron was telling us some weird things around the house. So when he was moving things in with his dad already knew the house seemed off the second he stepped into it. He told Cameron there was definitely a presence in that house that didn't seem good, but didn't seem evil neither. Obviously creeping him out, he just ignored it. Then he told us he had a weird dream about this entity within the house. He says he didn't remember the dream, but remembered the entity. The only thing he could remember is that it attacked him within the dream. We met up with Sarah, and she was with her friend who she took to the concert with her. We eventually got to the car, and the drive home seemed normal. When Sarah's friend dropped off at her home, we started making our way to Sarah's house. She started telling us weird things from her experiences, from things moving to footsteps. It all sounded so weird. We got to the house and sat down in the living room. Sarah had a spirit box she bought ages ago, as well as a night vision camera and an REM pod, which she broke. We got the spirit box and turned the lights off downstairs. We started asking questions with Cameron under doing the Estes method. Now, the Estes method is a paranormal investigation technique developed at the Stanley Hotel to enhance spirit communication using sensory deprivation. So basically one person, the receiver, wears noise-cancelling headphones connected to a sweeping SB7 spirit box and a blindfold, while others ask questions. The receiver then calls out words or phrases heard in the white noise. He didn't say a word or anything, so we stopped. Now Cameron thought it would be a good idea for me to go down alone and do my own spirit box session in the dark, with just the night vision camera pointing at me. At first I was hesitant, but I thought, what's the worst that could happen? They said after 5 minutes I would come back up. I went down the stairs and sat on the sofa. Cameron set up the night vision camera so they can watch me from upstairs. For the first 5 minutes, everything seemed fine and normal. But do you know that feeling that you feel like someone's next to you or near you, just watching you? Well, after about 5 minutes, that is the exact same feeling that I got. Now the kitchen door is next to me. I felt as though someone was watching me from the door. I kept looking, and with my naked eye, I see no one, but my instincts were telling me someone is there. After 2 minutes of just staring at the door, my neck started burning, progressively getting worse. I shouted for Cameron to come and get me. They wanted to keep me for another few minutes, but my neck was really starting to burn, getting worse and worse with each passing second, eventually stopping as Cameron came down the stairs to get me. After I went back upstairs, Lily had a look at my neck, and what do you know? It was red. Something had definitely done it. Whether it was just to scare me or, worst case scenario, attach itself to me. Now, this next bit is very weird and is part of the title of the story. Lily is with me, so we will tell both our points of views, starting with mine. So my point of view first. Sarah seemed to be getting tired, so we thought it would be a good plan to head to bed. We slept in a separate room to Cameron and Sarah, what would be the baby's room with just a mattress on the floor. We got ready and I had my phone on YouTube. I wasn't tired yet, so I thought I'd watch a few videos before dozing off. Lily went straight to sleep. It got to about 2 AM before I thought it would be a good time to start bedding down. I decided to leave my YouTube running just on very low volume using Lily's shoes as a phone stand. I turned around towards Lily to try and go to sleep. Now I turned back around towards my phone. I can only see this for a single second, but above Lily's shoes, it almost looked like a pale figure smiling at me, literally leaning its head on Lily's shoes above my phone. I didn't get a good look on the upper face, I just saw it from the nose down. Then I blinked and it was gone. I shrugged it off about me being tired and turned back over to face Lily. I was basically facing the window, ready to go to sleep, and I see that same football teammate I was speaking to earlier that day in the window. Mind you, we were on the second floor of the house and there was no way to get up unless someone had a ladder. Obviously, again, I just shrugged it off as nothing and my mind being tired and stuff. So, this time I put my head down and started to try and get some sleep. About literally 2 minutes later, Lily wakes up screaming. I jolt up, asking what's happened. She says she saw a face right up in her face. No, I did not tell her about what I saw. She was fast asleep. But now her saying that made me curious if what I saw was legit. Again, we were sleeping on the floor on a mattress. So whatever face she saw must have been crawling on the floor right up into her face, which is creepy to even think about after me seeing the same face in between her shoes and above my phone. She was completely terrified and refused to go back to sleep. Eventually, after about an hour and a half, we did go back to sleep. Lily's point of view. So I was fast asleep, and then I felt my eyes slowly open, so I wasn't waking up naturally. I then see a pale, long face right up in my face, but with a blank expression, as if it was observing me, not scaring me, but obviously I screamed. I've never seen such a thing like this so close, and, for context, I've seen a ghost before, just not this close. I wouldn't call myself a medium, however, I'm very in tuned and sensitive to the paranormal, and I sometimes could sense or talk to them, but I hadn't done that in a while, so I was very shaken up. Then, my boyfriend told me what he just saw, and it freaked me out even more, and I believe something was crawling on the floor, taunting us for some reason. I don't know why it was so close to me. It was like our noses could touch. I didn't talk much to it, question it, or antagonize it. However, in my experience, I think it's a malevolent woman spirit, but not a demon, hopefully. It looked human, but also like distorted as the eyes were huge compared to the rest of her face. We woke up around 10 or 11 AM to Sarah asking if we wanted to order some Greggs. Now, Greggs for Americans is basically a shop which sells meat-filled pastries, steak bakes, chicken bakes, sandwiches, all the things you can just grab and go. I don't think there's anything like that in America. Anyway, we were both like, hell yeah. She came into our room and we told her what happened. We were surprised that neither her or Cameron woke up to Lily screaming, because I sure as hell did. Anyway, this is where the story ends. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them.